about this?
I did.
Big Ben podcast had Pat Frymuth on.
Shout out to 7 too, man. Shout out to 7 making noise over there. Shout out to him.
Asked Pat, hey, what's the difference between playing with me as quarterback versus Kenny? And then Pat says, listen, dude, it was weird this year because we didn't have hots. Whereas like last year with you, like you could just do something with your helmet and you would be telling Deontay, all right, do a little slant and be a 12-yard completion. Yeah. This year, he's like, we had none of that. What's your take?
To me, man, I thought it was a combination of a couple of things. Number one, it made sense when you talk about Ben having that autonomy because Ben is a Hall of Famer. It also debunks some of the comments that were made about 7 not having the ability to check plays at the line of scrimmage because that was one of the criticisms.
He did what he could.
That was one of the criticisms. Nah, chill out. Nah. See, it can't be both now. Now y'all want to spin it. That's all I'm saying. Because that was the narrative with 7 in Canada. That 7 could not switch plays at the line of scrimmage. That 7 did not have that autonomy.
Must have been those first 3 quarters.
And now we have confirmation from both of those guys, Pat Frymuth and 7, that was actually inaccurate. He did have the autonomy to make those adjustments at the line of scrimmage. He didn't have to wait to get a green light. That was confirmed right there. So that was the first thing that I was like, interesting. But it does make sense in the sense of one is a veteran quarterback, one is a rookie quarterback. The other thing is the rookie quarterback wasn't the day one starter. So when you're talking about just the preparation and how we're rolling it out for Mitch versus how they would be rolling it out for Kenny, when they're looking at Mitch and they're getting him to get comfortable with the offense, for Matt Canada, it could be simply as, man, I'm going to take my time installing it. Now, we can critique, do you give a guy more on his plate if you're Mitch Trubisky? You can make the case, hey, should he have given Kenny more on his plate early on? I think with both scenarios, though, what do we see in the first half of the season? Turnovers, inconsistent play from both of those guys. Whether it be a flash or whether it be something bad, it just wasn't enough consistency. So I think early on, it made perfect sense to not have any hots or anything else to overcomplicate. I think in the second half of the season, it was just more so we're going to button this thing up and protect Kenny, protect this offense and say, what is the bare minimum that we can run that is still going to keep us effective, but is going to keep us from turning this ball over. And from there, we would see it start to expand a little bit more as it got later in the year. Now, hopefully, that was just a year one thing. And now they can all be on the same page and agree like, hey, Kenny, man, you're capable of this. Let's put more on your plate and let's see, can you actually operate? But I think last year, man, with the stakes being what they were, when we got to the bye week, man, we talked about it. Our record was not good. We weren't in a situation where we're like, yo, man, we ready to go get it. We talking about, yo, should we tank? Should we blow it up and all this other stuff? So I think for them, it's just more so that approach of, yo, we're not going to give you a lot on your plate. And I think even playing here defensively, when early on we couldn't check out of blitzes. We couldn't alter our blitzes. If you called strong fire zone, it didn't matter. If you and everybody in the stadium knew it, we had to run it. I think of year 3 in that defense, and we checking every day. Man, we might check from one blitz this way to a whole nother exotic blitz, something totally different coming from over there because we were all comfortable and the coaching staff trusted all of us to not just one person be on that page, everybody on that same page, because that's the other dynamic too. Remember, we had a lot of young players out there. So it's just like, I get it. Yes, you want him to be able to have hots, and it seems like something that's so mundane. Like, oh, what you mean you don't have a hot, man? Everybody has a hot. Even in high school have a hot. That's cool. But at the same time, when you think about the state that we were in at that time, with the turnovers and how we were trying to progress in season, with the quarterback changing and stuff like that, I could just understand them simply saying, man, we're not going to give you anything else on your plate offensively. We're going to dumb this thing down to make it fail-proof. We want to make it where you can't mess this thing up. So instead of you asking yourself, RPO or not, or what's this box look like or not, because that's another difference too. A hot route is very different than you reading the box and you saying, hey, I got 2 calls, I got to run play and a pass play. And we just reading the box and we're going to adjust to get us in the right call. The hot route is when you see something and it's like, hey, I trust what I see. I trust what my eyes are telling me. Hey, you on the same page? Let's go.
Run this route.
To throw that on a rookie or even throw that on Mitch at that time, you got to really trust them dudes. I don't fault Matt Kennedy if he didn't trust them dudes like that.
It could have been a Tomlin thing,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It could have easily been all of that. Yeah.
That's the funny thing, because people are running with this and saying Matt Canada's incompetent.
Yeah.
Why don't we have hot routes in our offense?
Well, and like I said, I get why they would take it because it's low-hanging fruit. And, yeah, we want our offense to be explosive and all this other stuff. But to me, Just because you're capable of calling hot routes doesn't mean you're going to have success. No different if you're capable of throwing the ball 40 times. Doesn't mean that every 40 throws that you have are going to all be touchdown passes. Sometimes it's less about the style point. Sometimes it's less about proving something. It's more so about what's going to get the job done. And I felt like this season, it got to that point where it was more so, what's going to get the job done?
We were running the ball.
Yeah, what's going to get the job done? To add a hot route doesn't take long. But you have to ask yourself.
Because that could be something done specifically between the quarterback and the receiver, correct?
Absolutely. So it's like, when we talk about the hot route, that's something that can easily be added. But at the same time, if that's not what I want you focused on right now, why are we going to waste time in season working on this hot route when we need to be worried about, can we run this ball effectively? Can we run this play action pass effectively? And can you make sure you catch this ball when I throw it to you effectively? That's why I think it's like that. Now, if this is still happening next year, yeah, major issue. But I think with this season, to me at least, I just looked at it a little bit differently because of all the context with it. But like I said, I could understand why people would get upset about it because, yeah, it's like, oh, man, it's the NFL. Everybody should have hot routes. Kenny's most pro ready. And we get that. But we also said just because you're most pro ready does not mean you are ready to be a starting professional quarterback above reproach. You still have to go through the growing pains. You still have to go through that process. So like I said, I get it, but it can't still be that way. That's the other, like, just make sure we clear on that. Can't be like that going forward. But I do anticipate that being very different when you talk about Kenny having a full offseason where they're going to actually be paired together, building this offense up together. Like, yo, Kenny, what do you feel comfortable with? Remember the whole conversation? Like, I think that's also going to come back to play and really help these guys out a lot with that. But, yeah, I could definitely understand why everybody was reacting like that, though, man.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, too, especially with how Big Ben reacted to it. So Freiermuth said all that. And then whenever it got back to Big Ben, he was like, "Oh, Kenny will learn that as he goes." Like it was like one of those things where he wasn't surprised. Yes. It's probably going to be something that naturally develops
because players understand the development and learning curve at this level. Fans and media typically, when you give a guy he's ready to play or he's the most pro ready, they just assume that he's ready to come in here and be the guy. And it's like, yo, we like his talent, we like his potential, and that's why you feel he's pro ready. We're just simply saying he has the smallest learning curve of the guys that are coming out, but it's still a learning curve. And if you throw too much on a guy's plate, you're either going to sink or swim. You don't want to do that in year one if you can avoid it. And I think the Steelers understood that they could avoid that this year. They didn't have to throw Kenny into the deep end and say survive or drown. We would have known if they would have done that. If it would have been the week one starter, training camp, OTAs, that would have been a survivor drown. They decided that we're not going to do that. We're going to make sure that we take our time with you to put you in the best situation as possible. And I think that's the approach that they took with this. But yeah, it will continue to expand because Kenny has also done what? He's shown that he's capable of it now. You watch Kenny the first 4 games. If you tell me about a hot route, I'm like, bro, get out of here. I don't think he's ready for a hot route. You look at him the second half of the season, it's like, no, he's earned the right to have hot routes. He's earned the right to be trusted with the offense, with audibles. But you don't just give anybody that. Like, nah, let me see that you could do it.
That's what I was curious about, too. Like, did Big Ben have hot routes his rookie season? Did Tom Brady have hot routes his rookie season? Could you imagine Bill Belichick giving Brady, like, autonomy? Oh, yeah, just go on hot route.
But that's why I said it's low-hanging fruit, because we already got people complaining about Canada. You already know he's the hot topic for whatever we want to say negatively about the offense. You say this right here, oh, you know, hot routes. It was like, oh, yeah, I told you that's why you should have fired him. And it's like, no. But if you're looking for a reason, if you're looking for a narrative, this is just something for you to go with. But that's why I said, from my perspective, like, I don't see it like that. It's like, no, let the kid earn his right, and he's done that. You saw him develop. I don't need him to be going out here throwing picks for hot routes for a pissing contest just to simply say we got hot routes. You know how many quarterbacks do that? It's like, great, cool, but you turn the ball over. Does that make you a better quarterback? Does that make that coordinator better because, hey, this guy got hot routes. He's throwing picks on the hot routes, but, hey, he has hot routes. I'm good on that, baby. Yeah, give me the guy that's going to make sure we effective and we win it. We got that combo right now. We saw those dividends paying off. I'm ready to see what we go to from here. I do anticipate hot routes coming, though, because, yeah, that's a natural stage. That's how you grow with this thing, but you can't throw all that on the person's plate year one, man. It's just crazy. At least at the NFL level it is. Maybe at college, where like other people have played, or high school, other people have played, maybe it's not as hard. Maybe y'all just throw them out there and everything's good. But from my experiences at this level, man, it's not like that. You got to give these guys training wheels at time, regardless of how pro-ready they say they are, because this level is different.
Hot routes or not,
Yeah.
I know what I saw after the bye. The offense doing good.
Yep.
Kenny Pickett only throwing 1 interception. Him having game-winning drives. Him being effective. So hot routes are not like.
So should
what
we
does
have
it matter?
like? Do we need to sub that off for hot routes? That's what I'm trying. You know what I mean? Like that's
my
what
initial
feels
reaction
like.
was too. It was a little dry. I'm like, yeah, Kenny should have hot routes.
Yeah.
But then I thought about it more. It's like, what if Tomlin didn't really find that as a priority? Because I'm sure if they wanted to, they could have.
Yeah.
Because there was that report out there. No, Kenny said it himself in the McAfee interview. Yeah, he started to, I think, get with Tomlin in some of the early week meetings with the coaches.
Yeah.
So, like, if they wanted to say, hey, man, we got to start opening this up, do some hot routes, they probably could have done it.
When you see this right here, check this right here. Or when you see this right here, man, you can give him a little nod, and this is the route we're going to try to work on. Absolutely.
But obviously it wasn't priority because Kenny was in those meetings. And he also said, like, Tomlin would lay out how the games would go before we got into
Tomlin
Sunday.
does that, bro. Tomlin does that.
Like, this is what we need to be looking for.
Tomlin
so
does that.
it felt like second half of the season, I don't think our eyes are lying to us that the goals were to run the ball, play good defense, don't turn the ball over, clutch up on third downs and late in the game. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Hot routes.
Like
Again,
said,
I want Kenny to have hot routes. Like I want, especially going forward, I want him to have more autonomy of the offense. But for this last season and his rookie year,
that's all I'm saying, bro.
Was Brock Purdy getting hot routes with the Niners?
Like, it just.
I'm like actually genuinely curious, but does it matter?
That's my thing. Were we winning? Were we effective? Was Kenny playing his best ball the second half of the season? Yes or no? Like,
Absolutely.
That's how I look at it. If we want to fish for different reasons, like, cool. I'm not a narrative guy, though. We've talked about that at numerous times, man. So
like if the offense starts sucking next year and we want to start talking hot routes, fine. But if the offense is good, who cares?
And what if
what I'm witnessing on Sundays are wins and points up on the board by the offense?
I'll even go a step further. And if we got hot routes and the offense is looking bad because of the hot routes, I'll be over here like, take the hot routes out. if I'm seeing Kenny doing this at the line of scrimmage, this at the line, and they bad play, hey, stop that. I don't want to see no more of that. All right? But until otherwise, I'm good right now, man.
Okay, super chats. Q Moats. Why did they get
That's
rid
funny.
of
I'm glad you brought that up.
Pro Bowl in Hawaii? I was actually like genuinely curious.
Yeah. I do remember seeing it. That's funny you said that though. I did want to talk about that too. I'm glad you remember that. Yeah, because when I saw it, I'm like, as soon as I saw people reacting, I'm like, well, first I was on Twitter, so you already know how this is gonna go. They posted up there for a reason. I get it. But it's like, bro, it's not like that. And you could tell in Ben's reaction the same way. I saw the same thing. It's
I don't
like,
know if Muth would have even
Ben's not
said
even
that
tripping.
if it was going to be that big of a deal.
Yes,
right.
because he's not trying to. You nobody want to piss off their boss like that. You go out there and you start talking like that. That is your real boss too. Your OC, like, yeah, you ain't doing nothing like that. Nah, not at all. And that's not Moose energy either. So yeah, man, I'm with you on that though.